Hi, my name is Daniel. I am 26 years old, and for most of my life I was scared of speaking English. Not because English was too hard, not because English was too hard, not because I didn't know the words, but because every time I tried to speak, I would stop. I would freeze. My mouth just stopped working. I knew the words. I had them in my head. I could write them. I could read them. I could understand everything people said to me. But when it was time to open my mouth and speak, nothing came out right. I would say one word, then stop, then a long, heavy silence. People would look at me like I was dumb, but I was not dumb. I just didn't know how to get my thoughts out in English. The words were inside me. They just couldn't come out. I lived in a small town, but I had big dreams. I wanted to work in a big company. I wanted to travel the world. I wanted to talk to people from other countries, and for all of that, I needed English. Every job interview they asked, "Can you speak English?" Every good course was in English. Every great book, every good video, every big chance in life, it was all in English. And I couldn't get through that door because I kept stopping when I tried to speak. Do you know how it feels when you want to say something but your mouth won't move? It feels like you are stuck. Like your voice is trapped inside your body. You sit in a meeting, you want to share your idea, but you stay quiet. You meet someone from another country, you want to talk, but you say nothing, you just smile and nod. Every time I stopped talking, I felt worse about myself. One night, I was sitting alone in my small room. No lights, no sound, just silence. And I thought, am I really going to live like this? Am I going to stay quiet forever? Then I said something out loud, not to anyone, just to myself. I said, "Daniel, it's time. You can't keep waiting." That night I made a real choice, not to learn more words, not to study more grammar. I said, I will train my mouth, because my mouth was weak. My fear lived in my tongue, and I knew this. If I train my mouth to speak, I will stop freezing. If I stop freezing, I will speak with flow. If I speak with flow, the world will hear me. That night I started, and this is my story. Not the story of a smart person, not someone born in an English country. Just a normal person, like you, who was tired of being quiet, tired of being scared, tired of waiting. In the next chapters, I will show you exactly how I trained my mouth. Not with books, not with expensive courses, just with my broken English and a lot of courage. I will show you how I went from stopping every 2 seconds to speaking English smoothly. And in the last chapter, you will hear me speak, not perfect, but smooth. And when you hear it, you will believe. It can happen for you too. Subscribe to our channel, because your voice deserves to be heard in English, and we will help you speak it. Chapter 1. The Mirror and the Silence. The morning after I made that choice, I woke up feeling scared. Not happy, not strong, just scared. My heart was beating fast, my hands were cold. It felt like I was about to stand in front of a huge crowd, but there was no crowd. No audience, just me and a mirror. I walked slowly to my small bathroom. The mirror was old and cracked. The light above it kept blinking, like a dying little bug. But I didn't fix it. That day I wasn't there to look good. I was there to change something that had been stuck inside me for years. My voice. I stood in front of the mirror and just looked at myself. My eyes looked tired, not brave, tired of stopping, tired of hiding. I opened my mouth to speak, and I froze. My mind went empty. I had already planned the words the night before. Just 3 words. I am Daniel. That's it. But my lips didn't move. It felt like someone had pressed a pause button inside my throat. I took a long breath, and I whispered, "I am Daniel." It didn't sound strong. It didn't sound strong. It didn't sound smooth. But it was real. It was a start. The mirror became my first listener. I said it again. I am Daniel. 10 times, 20 times, slowly, louder each time. At first, I sounded like a scared student, but after a few minutes, I started to sound more like a real person. A person who was trying. Then I said, I want to speak English. The words felt heavy in my mouth, but I kept going. Sometimes I got it wrong. I said, I want to speak English. But I didn't stop. That was the first thing the mirror taught me. Fluency is not about saying everything perfectly. It is about not stopping when things go wrong. That day I practiced for 5 full minutes. I said the same sentences again and again. I am Daniel. I want to speak English. I will speak smoothly. I am not afraid anymore. I believe I can do this. Every sentence was short, but every sentence felt like one step forward. Talking to a mirror is not just practice. It is facing your fear. It is learning to look into your own eyes and say, "This voice belongs to me." I was not trying to impress anyone. I was just practicing being myself in English. For the first time, I had control over one moment in English, and that gave me something very important, a small feeling of belief. That small belief became the seed of everything I built after. Chapter 2. One breath at a time. On day 2, I stood in front of the mirror again. Same cracked glass, same nervous hands, but something inside me was a little different. I had spoken out loud yesterday. I had heard English leave my mouth, and I had survived. Today I tried longer sentences, but as soon as I started, I saw a problem. I would say, I want to speak English. I was chopping every sentence into small broken pieces, and each time I stopped, the fear came back. That is when I thought, maybe I am stopping because I don't know how to breathe while I speak. Nobody talks about this. People talk about grammar. They talk about vocabulary. They talk about confidence, but nobody talks about breathing. Every time I stopped, it was not just because I forgot a word, it was also because my lungs were empty. I had no air left to speak. That evening I sat down and wrote in a notebook, "Speak one full sentence with one breath. Don't stop in the middle." I stood in front of the mirror and tried. I took a big breath. Then I said, "I want to speak English without stopping." It came out slow and shaky. But it came out, then again, then another sentence. I am training my mouth to move smoothly. My fear is smaller than my dream. Each time I focused on 2 things. 1. Finish the whole sentence. 2. Do not stop in the middle. What happened after 10 tries? My voice got louder, my tongue got faster, and my brain stopped panicking. Because now I had a clear start and a clear end. My brain knew the sentence had a finish line. Every morning I practiced the same way. I picked 5 short sentences. I took a big breath before each one. I said them out loud. 1 breath, 1 sentence. I repeated each one 5 to 10 times. And over time, I made the sentences longer. When you speak in 1 breath, you stop thinking too much. You stop changing your sentence in the middle. Your brain stays calm. Your mouth moves with more confidence. Something amazing happened. I was walking to the store, and in my head I said, I need to buy vegetables, then I'll make rice, then I'll read something in English. All in one thought. No stopping, no translating, no fear. That night I looked in the mirror and said, today I trained my mouth, and I am proud of myself. It was not perfect, but it was smooth, and it came out in 1 breath. Chapter 3. My hidden mistake. I was translating everything. Even after a week of mirror practice and breathing work, something strange kept happening. Some days I could say 5 full sentences without stopping. Other days I couldn't even say 1 simple sentence. It confused me. I started watching myself carefully, like a scientist. I paid close attention to what happened inside my head right before I tried to speak. And then I found the truth, a painful truth. I was still translating every sentence in my head. I was not thinking in English. I was only speaking it. Let me show you what was happening. Say I wanted to say, I went to the market today. Here is what happened. First, I thought the sentence in my own language. Then I quickly tried to change each word into English. Then I tried to say it. Then I stopped halfway because I got stuck. That was the problem. I was using a slow translator inside my brain, and it was making me stop every single time. I was not dumb, I was just doing it the hard way. Think of it like trying to write with the wrong hand. You can do it, but it is slow and full of mistakes. That is what translating feels like in your own brain. So I made a new habit. I turned every small part of my day into a chance to think in English. When I brush my teeth, I am brushing. It is cold. I need to be quick. When I made breakfast, this bread is soft. The pan is hot. When I walked outside, that man is wearing a black shirt. There is traffic. I feel sleepy. These were not beautiful sentences, but they were in English, and that was the whole point. I did not wait for practice time anymore. Every moment became part of my training. Many times my mind went back to my old language, but every time I caught myself, I gently pulled myself back. No, Daniel, English only. Then one day I was walking home from the store. Suddenly I realized I had been thinking in English the whole walk, without trying, without translating, without fear. That day I wrote in my journal, "Today, for the first time, I did not translate. I thought in English from start to finish. It felt like freedom." From that day, my progress became 10 times faster, because now my thoughts and my mouth were finally speaking the same language. Chapter 4. I found my rhythm. Shadowing changed my voice. Around day 25, I felt more comfortable speaking, more steady. But something was still missing. My sentences were clear, but they felt like a robot was saying them. I didn't sound natural. I didn't sound real. That is when I found something that changed everything. A method I had never heard of before. It is called shadowing. Shadowing is simple. You listen to someone speaking English, then you copy exactly what they said. Same words, same feeling, same speed, same tone. It is like being an actor and copying a great performance. I found a powerful video on YouTube. The speaker's words flowed smooth and strong. I played the first sentence. He said, "Success doesn't come overnight. It comes with practice." I stopped the video. I repeated it with the same feeling. Then the next sentence, then stop, then repeat. Sentence by sentence, voice by voice. For the first time in my life, I was not just saying English words, I was feeling them. My tongue learned how to move with rhythm. My voice started to change its shape. It was no longer just about what I said. It was about how I said it. Every day I practiced the same way. I picked a 2-minute video, a speech, a short interview, or a vlog. I played one sentence, stopped, then copied it with the same energy. I did this for 10 minutes every morning. After 7 days, I recorded my voice and spoke for 2 minutes. When I listened back, I didn't recognize myself. It was me, but different. I sounded sure of myself. My voice had life. My words had feeling. My sentences had flow. Most people think speaking smoothly is all about words, but real smooth speaking also has a rhythm, like music. Shadowing trained my mouth to move like a fluent speaker. I was not scared of English anymore. I was learning to sound like someone who truly belonged in the language. Chapter 5. I finally spoke in public and froze. By the end of the first month, I had made a lot of progress. I could speak in front of the mirror for 10 minutes without stopping. I could think in English. I could copy native speakers and feel their rhythm. I thought I was ready to speak to real people, and then it happened, without warning. One morning at work, we had our weekly team meeting. I always sat and listened. I never spoke unless someone asked me. But that day, my manager looked at me and said, "Daniel, can you quickly tell us what you are working on this week?" It was a simple question. I had the answer in my head. But the moment every eye in the room turned toward me, my heart started beating fast, my throat got tight, and all my weeks of practice disappeared in 2 seconds. I opened my mouth. Working on project, silence, total silence. My manager waited politely, but I could feel the energy in the room change. My confidence fell apart. I finally said, "Sorry, I will write it later." And I sat down. Inside, I felt broken, ashamed. I could speak English alone, but I could not speak English when people were watching me. I had trained my mouth. I had trained my mouth. I had trained my mind, but I had never trained my feelings. In that meeting, I didn't forget English. I forgot how to stay calm. That night, I wrote something painful in my journal. Fluency is not just speaking, it is speaking while you are scared, speaking while people watch you, speaking while your heart is racing. So I made a new goal, not just to speak smoothly, but to speak smoothly while I feel fear. I built a new practice. I stood in front of my mirror. I imagined a room full of people watching me. I pretended I was in a meeting. I gave myself 30 seconds to explain something, and I forced myself to keep going, even when my heart was racing. I did not wait for the real world to test me again. I created that test for myself every single morning. It was hard, but that is how I trained myself to stay calm, not by running away from fear, but by learning how to breathe through it. Chapter 6. The Sentence. Connectors that saved me. After that meeting, I spent 2 weeks focusing on one thing only, not freezing. I studied how smooth speakers kept going, even when they were not sure what to say next, and I found something I had never noticed before. They used small words and short phrases to keep their mouth moving while their brain was still thinking. These are called sentence connectors. They are like small bridges between thoughts. Some that I noticed were, actually, by the way, let me think. So basically, that being said, and the point is, these small phrases help you sound smooth even when you are still thinking inside. I also made a list of sentence starters I could use when I felt stuck. Let me explain. To be honest, what I mean is, well, from my point of view, here's the thing, and the way I see it. Every time I forgot a word or felt panic coming, I used one of these and kept going. I practiced by asking myself fake questions and answering out loud. Question: how do you feel about this week? Answer: well, from my point of view, things are going well. Actually, we made more progress than last week, so basically we are ahead of plan. In just a few days, I noticed something big. I stopped freezing. I kept speaking even when I didn't have the perfect words. Then at work, someone asked me a question I was not ready for. But I stayed calm. I took a small breath and said, "That is a really interesting question. Let me think." I would say the main reason is that we want to save time. So in simple words, it is all about being faster. My manager nodded. That was it. No fear, no freezing, just flow. That night I smiled at myself in the mirror. I spoke. I kept going. Sentence connectors gave me a rope to hold on to when my words were not ready yet, and that rope saved me, again and again. Chapter 7. 60 seconds without stopping. After learning one breath speaking, after using sentence connectors, after shadowing, I still noticed one problem. In real conversations, I couldn't speak for very long. My answers were short. My ideas were short. I felt like my English had no depth. I needed to train for real moments. Not just mirrors, but moments where someone asks you something and waits for a full answer. One evening, I opened the stopwatch on my phone. I stood in front of the mirror and said out loud, "Daniel, speak in English for 60 seconds. Don't stop, don't pause, don't fix anything, just speak." I took a breath and started. "Okay, today I want to talk about something I learned this week. Actually, I think speaking without stopping is very hard because sometimes we think too much and our brain gets confused. And I think the best way is maybe, I don't know, just trying." I looked at the timer. 32 seconds, and I was already lost. Then I remembered something important. Fluency is not about speed. It is about staying inside the sentence until it is done. So I made a new rule. Every day I would speak for 60 seconds, not fast, not perfect, just non-stop. Every morning I picked one topic, my morning routine, why I like Sundays, how I learned English, or what I do when I feel nervous. I started with a sentence opener like, "Let me tell you about." I used at least one connector in the middle. I did not stop for more than 2 seconds, and I ended with, "That's all for now," or "So that's my answer." The first tries were rough. I forgot my point. I repeated the same words. I said every 5 seconds, but I kept going. Then one day the topic was my favorite food. I started, "Let me tell you about my favorite food. Actually, I love spicy food. I think it makes me feel more awake. My favorite dish is something my mother used to make when I was a child. It had rice, vegetables, and a really strong flavor. Even now, when I taste something like it, I remember being young. So basically, food is not just food for me. It is a memory. That is why I like cooking sometimes. It brings back that feeling. Anyway, that is why spicy food is my favorite." I stopped the timer. 61 seconds. My eyes got wet. Not because I was proud, but because for the first time, I felt like a real speaker, a real person telling a real story in real English. This one method taught me how to keep going when my brain feels tired, how to finish my thought even when I lose a word, how to sound complete and clear, how to stop panicking after 10 seconds. Chapter 8. I recorded my voice and didn't like it. After I started the 60-second challenge, I felt like I was getting better, but I couldn't really know because I had never listened to myself from the outside. Then one day I had an idea. What if I record my voice and listen to it like I was someone else hearing it for the first time? The idea scared me, but I did it. Day 1, I pressed record. My topic was my daily routine. I spoke for 1 minute, then I listened back. What I heard surprised me. Even after weeks of practice, I sounded flat, a little slow, unsure of myself, like I was thinking too hard. My pronunciation was okay, but my energy was missing. I felt let down. Is this really what I sound like? But then I told myself, you are not listening to judge. You are listening to judge. You are listening to grow. So I made a plan. Every night I would record 1 minute of speaking. Then I would listen with a notebook and write down what I did well, where I stopped, which words I repeated too much, where my energy dropped, and which sentences sounded strong. And slowly my voice changed. I started fixing things. I smiled while I talked, so I sounded warmer. I stopped pausing in the middle of sentences. I replaced with better connectors. I added more details in my answers. I spoke with more energy. I was not just practicing. I was studying myself. Because when you record yourself, you become your own teacher. Your ears will tell you what needs to be fixed. And when you see your growth week by week, you start to want more of it. Then one day I went back and listened to my very first recording. It was painful. I sounded so unsure, so slow, so broken. Then I listened to my newest one. I was clear, I was calm, I was complete. The difference was real, and it gave me something even better than smooth speaking. Proof. Proof that I had changed. Proof that this journey was working. Proof that I was becoming someone I never thought I could be, a real speaker. Chapter 9. The final routine that rewired my voice. By this point I had many tools: mirror practice, one-breath sentences, thinking in English, shadowing, connectors, recording. 60-second challenges, each one was powerful, but I was using them without a clear plan. Some days I felt smooth, other days I felt smooth, on other days I felt like I was back at the beginning. Then I understood something important. It is not the practice you do one time that changes you. It is the practice you do every single day, without excuses, that truly rewires your voice. So I made a decision. I will build a daily structure. No more random learning. No more practicing only when I feel like it. It was time to build something that would last. I called it my mouth training hour. I treated it like going to the gym. Important, unbreakable, no matter what. Step 1 was 10 minutes of mirror practice. I stood up straight. I looked into my own eyes, and I said 5 simple sentences with confidence. Even on tired days, I said, I am training my voice. I am not afraid to speak. I do not need to be perfect. I speak with flow. I respect my journey. I used the mirror to remind myself why I was doing this. Because without belief, there is no smooth speaking. Step 2 was 10 minutes of one-breath speaking. I picked 5 real-life sentences and said each one 10 times, one breath, one sentence, no stopping. It felt like training at the gym, but for my mouth. Step 3 was 10 minutes of shadowing. I picked a video, a speech, a podcast, or an interview. I listened, paused, and copied the sentence with full feeling. Then again, I was learning not just to speak, but to speak like someone who meant every word. Step 4 was 10 minutes of 60-second speaking. I picked one topic, set the timer, spoke for 60 seconds without stopping, used connectors, used feeling, used personal stories. Then I recorded another try right away and compared both, wrote down what got better. Step 5 was 10 minutes of silent thinking in English. I turned off all devices, walked slowly in my room, and thought in English about my day, my feelings, my future. If I could not find a word, I described it with other words. For example, I could not think of the word disappointed. So I said to myself, I feel low because something did not go the way I wanted. This trained my brain to keep speaking even without the perfect word. That is real fluency. Step 6 was 10 minutes of listening to my old voice. Each night before sleep, I played a recording from 1 week earlier. I listened without judging myself. Then I said out loud, this was me, but now I speak better. Then I recorded my current voice and compared the two. No motivational video can give you what this gives. Proof, progress, power. This was my system, and it changed my voice for good, because repeating things plus feeling plus structure equals real change. What changed after 30 days? Everything. My pauses turned into smooth transitions. My hesitation turned into rhythm. My fear turned quiet. My silence turned into sound, and my sound became my story. Chapter 10. The day I spoke without stopping. It happened on a Tuesday afternoon. We had a big company meeting. About 40 people were there, including some new managers. It was a relaxed meeting, but people were asked to share ideas. As the talk moved forward, my manager said, "Daniel, I know you have been working on the new client process. Can you walk us through how it works?" Every head in the room turned toward me, and for one full second I felt the old fear come back. My throat got tight. My legs felt heavy. But then I smiled, because I had trained for this. Every morning, every evening, alone, in silence, in repetition, I had trained for this exact moment. I stood up, calm, focused, and I spoke. Sure. Let me explain in simple words. Basically, the process starts with finding out what the client needs most, then matching that to our team. Once we have a match, we move to phase 2. Actually, one thing we noticed last week was that step 2 was too slow. So we changed the timing for the handoff. That being said, we are still testing a few parts, but the early results look really good. So in short, the whole thing is built around being clear and being fast. Silence. But it was not the old kind of silence, not the silence of fear. It was the silence of respect. People nodded. One new manager even wrote something down. My voice did not stop. My thoughts did not break. My body did not shake. I had spoken English for over 3 minutes, without freezing, without panicking, without losing myself. That night, I sat on my bed alone, quiet. Grateful. I did not play music. I did not watch anything. I just sat there and went back through that moment in my mind, not to feel proud, but to remember, to honor the journey. Because the boy who could not say, "I am Daniel," without shaking, had just explained a business process to a full room of professionals, with rhythm, with confidence, with power. Final words. If you are struggling to speak English right now, please hear me. It is not because you are lazy. It is not because you are slow. It is not because you are weak. It is because no one ever told you the truth. Fluency is not just grammar. It is courage. It is muscle. It is practice. It is falling down and getting back up hundreds of times And most of all, fluency is not something you are born with. It is a choice you make every single day. If I could speak smoothly after years of shame and silence, you can too. Just train your mouth every day, no matter what. Because one day you will open your mouth and the words will come out clean and clear. And in that moment, you will finally understand you were never afraid of English. You were just waiting to become who you were always meant to be. Fluent, free, finally heard. I did not become someone new. I became the person I had buried under fear. And when I trained my mouth to speak English without stopping, everything changed. I got a better job. I traveled by myself. I started a YouTube channel. I found my voice. I found peace. If you're still quiet, still scared, I was just like you. But smooth speaking does not just appear. You build it. So start today, even if your voice shakes. Even if your voice shakes, even if your grammar is wrong. Because English is not just a skill. It is your confidence, your freedom, your voice. And your voice deserves to be heard. Start speaking today and never stop again.